everyone better watch out. MOBAs, MMOs, RPGs, they all better step aside because there's a new competitor entering the arena, and it's looking to go for the crown and just change the landscape of gaming. But what is this new genre, and why should you be excited for it? Let's discuss this. Evercore Heroes is the brand new game that is moving into closed beta on June 20th. Evercore Heroes is considered a competitive PvE game that takes 4 teams of 4 and puts them into a dungeon to compete against each other in real time. It's the same objectives, the same monsters, the same layout. The only difference is how well you and your team can adapt and improvise to the given situations. Why is this so transformative? It's a fair question. Do you know how hard it is to find 20 people to raid with on a regular basis? I, for one, am very guilty of this. My raiding life has fallen apart, my schedule an absolute mess, and it is impossible for me to commit to the same weekly raid schedule that occupied years of my life. But Evercore Heroes removes this barrier to entry. First of all, your team is 4 players max, so for people who do have friends, you will be able to fill up your own lobby. But for loners like me, worry not, because you can just queue into a game all on your lonesome and find people to play with. This goodness gets even better when you consider that the longest game of Evercore I played was 27 minutes long. And that feels a lot better for you and the mental instead of spending 27 minutes progressing one World of Warcraft boss. Now, even better yet, Evercore Heroes are, in theory, Smurf and griefer proof, which is a very alarming statement to be able to make for a game that is a competitive game. What's interesting here is there is no PvP aspect in this game, which means there is no incentive for the hard-stuck bronze players to make Smurf accounts in order to style on the new players. Since the game is so inherently cooperative, if anyone does actually take it upon themselves to make a Smurf, they would either be helping you because they'd end up on your team and you'd be able to see what they're doing, or at the very least, they're not going to impact your gameplay experience at all because they're on the other team and they're on their own instance. They can only impact you in very limited ways that would help teach you what the game is all about. But that's all well and good. What is the actual gameplay loop? What is the meat to these potatoes? Let me give you the 60-second elevator pitch to what is Evercore Heroes. You and your 3 accomplices get placed into a dungeon and several objectives open up before you. You and 3 other teams are now running an exact mirror of this same dungeon. You first have a few minutes to go and farm up experience, gold, and other objectives to make your team stronger. And then after a bit of time passes, you get put into this real-time team-based contest where you see teams go head-to-head to all try and fight for a common objective, even though it's all being done in your own independent instance. These events are things like who can kill the big thing the best, who can manage a debuff the best. These are all very simple concepts, but when they're put into a competitive environment, it turns into this really fun experience. Now, how you do in these team-based objectives dictates how much of an advantage you will get in the next phase, which is base defense time. During base defense time, you have to stop hordes of enemies from breaking your shiny crystal. This phase lasts until one team gets eliminated and has their crystal destroyed. So the more health you can put on your crystal, the better chance you're going to be of making it to the next round because someone else will probably screw up first. And after that, this process will repeat again until there's only 2 teams left remaining. And when there's only 2 teams left, they go into a head-to-head contest to decide who is the ultimate victor. These head-to-head contests are things like a giant raid boss that you and your team have to coordinate to take down, or an intense, more directed swarm that's trying to break your crystal, among other things that'll come out in the future. And honestly, these final objectives have a surprising amount of variety, and the more you complete these different objectives, either the head-to-head, the team-based, or otherwise, the more optimized you want to make your approaches so that you can get more done in the time that you're allowed. And that's all well and good. I've now given you the elevator pitch. Is Evercore Heroes actually fun? Yes, it is. I will admit I was skeptical on how engaged I was going to be, playing through these same 3 dungeons over and over again, but let me put your fears to rest. The more I played, the more invested I became. My brain started unlocking new wrinkles and folds as I understood these different mechanics more. And that little part of me that loves to min-max and math out games got reborn. Now granted, I've only participated in this OTK open night that happened, but after playing for 6.5 hours straight, something that I haven't been driven to do in years, all I find myself wanting to do is to talk about, review footage, and theory craft for Evercore. The reason that I can say this with such confidence is because every single match, the game is completely different, even if you are on the same dungeon map that you were in a previous match. Every single match, the objectives are different. This means that every single game, you are going to need to form a new strategy. And it was honestly so cool to see how the community's knowledge just dramatically increased and strategies started forming over the course of this relatively small time frame. And it really makes me excited to see how far this can get pushed. So if you want to join in on this Evercore Heroes closed beta, follow the link in the description. It's going to take you to their website, and then you can sign up by buying the Founders Pass. Now, if buying a Founders Pass and participating in closed betas isn't your thing, that's fine. I'll be here to cover all the details in the interim, and once we move out of closed beta, this game is going to be launching as free to play. I've got more videos to make. You have a fantastic day, and I will see you all in the world of Lumeria on June 20th.